Many people who own a Mac don't realize the power of OS X. There are key bindings and settings that increase productivity and provide customizability beyond what Windows or even X and Linux can provide. I called this video MacBook Like a Pro, but you don't need a MacBook Pro to use this. You just need any Mac, a keyboard and an external trackpad or the internal trackpad of the MacBook Pro. On that note, I want to start by talking about touchpad gestures in OS X. A lot of people know about touchpad gestures in OS X, so you might be interested in skipping to the next part of the video, which will be about key bindings that a lot of people aren't familiar with. The touchpad gestures I want to talk about today can be customized under Apple Menu, System Preferences, and Trackpad, where you're able to come through these tabs here, enable the features you want, and change how they're activated with this drop-down box. I'm not going to be explaining all the features, just the ones I find the most useful. The first thing I want to talk about is two-finger scroll and right-click. If you've ever used a Mac before, there used to be this control-click to right-click, but I don't find that convenient. I use the two-finger click, which also works with the tap to get to this menu here, the right-click menu. Also, two-finger scrolling is something a lot of people are used to, and I don't think I need to go over that. I just want to make sure that you're familiar with the fact that it's there. The only thing to note is that by default, the scrolling direction is the opposite of what you're used to. So pushing up scrolls down, and pulling down scrolls up. But you can customize that in the menu to your liking. I wanted to talk about accessing Launchpad now. You can click this icon here to get to a view of all of the applications installed on your Mac, but I think that it's also worth knowing the touchpad gesture for doing the same thing. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want 3 fingers, a thumb, and you pinch in, and then you can access this menu. I want to talk about Mission Control now, which gives you a view of all of your open applications, your open desktops and full screen apps in one easy to navigate view. To access to Mission Control, you can either come to the icon in Launchpad and click the icon, or you can 3-finger swipe up to access Mission Control. So to see how it works, we're going to open some applications here, maybe send some full screen. We'll open a full screen Finder window. And the first thing you'll see me using here, almost out of instinct, is to swipe between apps using 3 fingers, or 4 fingers is customizable, to get to the left or right desktop or full screen application. Now let's see how you can do that in Mission Control. 3-finger swipe up. You can click here to open the full screen application, and then click back to open the desktop. You can click these applications to open the currently available applications on this desktop. I can add a new desktop coming up here in the right corner and clicking. Open that, and you'll see that there's no windows open on this desktop. You can come back here, open that desktop, go to a window, come back to Finder. It's very fluid to access all of your programs and full screen apps and desktops. When you're done with the desktop, you can come up here and click X. You can also sort these full screen windows just by dragging. By default, it automatically sorts these windows, but you can change that in System Preferences, Mission Control. Automatically rearrange space on most recent use. I disable this usually. So now I want to talk about key bindings that are available in most Cocoa applications in Mac. These key bindings are for editing text, and it's really convenient that they're almost available everywhere. So I'm going to open up TextEdit here so we can take a look. So I'm just going to type some text in here. The first thing you're going to want to do is navigate around the text in your file to edit it. Normally you'd use the arrow keys. However, there are some key bindings that provide the same functionality. Control P is like up arrow, Control N is like down arrow, Control F is like right arrow, and Control B is like left arrow. These are actually mnemonics. You can think of Control F as forward, Control B as backwards, Control P as previous line, and Control N as next line. It's really convenient not to have to move your hands from the typing area of the keyboard to use these arrow keys, so I use this feature all the time. This is something that you don't get in Linux, you can't get it in Windows. You have to use the arrow keys in those operating systems. Or set up some key bindings, use something like auto hotkey on Windows, or XKB settings on Linux. Here it's really nice to just have these default key bindings available anywhere to navigate your text. I also want to talk about going to the end of the line and the beginning of the line. This is like home and end on a normal Windows keyboard. You can access this with Control E and Control A. A common thing is to want to open a new line on the next line. So say I'm here in the middle of the line and I want to have my cursor on this next line here. So all I have to do is press Control E to go to the end of the line and then Enter to make a new line. Boom. Another thing a lot of people will move their hands away from the typing position of the keyboard to press is delete. And this is something a lot of people do. You'll be typing, and when you want to press delete, you're going to have to take your ring finger and then come back to typing. I find it a lot easier to use the key binding in OS X, which is Control H. I don't have to move my hands away from their typing position just to access the backspace key when I make a mistake. And considering how much I make mistakes, it's really useful to have this feature. There's also a delete key. So normally on Macs, the delete key is a backspace. But what if you want to delete forwards? Control D to the rescue. It's almost fun to just play with it. I'm going to type some more text here. OS X also supports a feature called the kill ring. This is something that comes from Emacs. You can just press Control K and it deletes to the end of the line from where your cursor is. And then you can access that text again just by pressing Control Y to get it back. I use this all the time when there's a specific section of text I just want to get rid of. Control K, it's gone. Boom, it's here. It's just like cut and paste, except for you don't have to come down here and press Command. You can just use Control Y, Control K. The other thing is, it doesn't share the clipboard with Command C and Command V. So, as you can see here, this word here is in my kill ring. I can paste it a bunch of times, but I come to Command V, not so. Not in that clipboard. So that has its own separate clipboard for the kill ring. This is similar to Emacs. So I've talked about all these key bindings, but there's something missing. And that's that you can't customize it. All these key bindings, they're hard-coded into OS X, seemingly. However, that's not true. If you go on the internet to the right article, you'll find that you can customize these with a plist file, a common file in OS X. Let's look it up. Here it is. So as you can see here, there's a sample file where it adds some more functionality similar to Emacs, which is what all of the functionality we've seen thus far is based off of. And it just calls these Objective-C functions. Honestly, I think this is really great, and I took these key bindings right here and I put them into my config file. It's really useful. So I showed you the key bindings in TextEdit, but I want you to know that these key bindings are universal. This is something that Linux and Windows don't even get close to rewriting. The unity of Apple's products, the developer APIs, it makes this possible. So I think this is really a strength of OS X. So I can come in here to Safari, start typing a URL. I'm going to go to Engadget. There's some completions. I can Control N and Control P to go through those. I can Control F and Control B to get through the text file, the text in the URL. I can use Control A and Control E. Everything works everywhere. You can use Control N and Control P to scroll as well. That's really nice. So now I want to talk about some settings on OS X. Some of these are just cool, fun things, and some of these are really important. So I'm going to come in here to System Preferences. And the first thing I want to talk about is this accessibility menu. You get some really fun things to play with here. Invert colors makes everything look the exact opposite on the color wheel. Use grayscale in case it's a rainy day or you just hate yourself. Turn on increased contrast and it looks cool. You can create a keyboard shortcut for any menu item in OS X. You come in here to Keyboards, Shortcuts, App Shortcuts, and choose an app. Choose a menu item. Here, Safari. Say, some of these don't even have key bindings. Let's see. Zoom doesn't have a key binding. You want Zoom? You want to keybind that? Let's look at what it does. Zoom. That's what the Zoom does. You want to keybind it? Come in here, add for Safari. The menu title item is Zoom. So you type Zoom in here. And then the keyboard shortcut, who cares? It's going to be Command Shift F. Come in here, Command Shift F. Boom, zoomed. Look at that. Instantly got a key binding for whatever menu item you want to activate. Absolutely amazing. I don't know that this is something that Linux or Windows can do either. Finally, I want to talk about inputting Unicode characters. If you're in statistics or a class where you have characters that aren't on the normal keyboard, you can come in here, you click Add, come to Others, Unicode Hex, add that, and then you come into the menu bar and select it. You're now able to type any Unicode character simply by holding Alt and typing in the Unicode code. So, for people that do statistics, you might need to access P hat. So you press P, the Unicode character for a hat is Alt 0302, boom, P hat. You can type statistics now. Awesome. Another one that people in statistics use is Sigma. The code for Sigma is Alt 03C3. There it is. You want to put a hat on that? Alt 0302. It's a hatted Sigma. Really cool feature if you type Unicode characters a lot. Statistics, math classes in general. You want to use it for language phonetics. That's where that hat actually comes from, is from the phonetics alphabet in Unicode. Unicode's really great, and you should be familiar with all of the cool things it can do. Anyways, that's it. I just wanted to go over key bindings, touchpad gestures, and some really cool features in OS X that I've discovered since I've started using it. It's only been a few months for me, so I'm sure I'll find more stuff and make a second video.